Good. Medical is passed. I'm there. Still staying optimistic. Everything. Nothing. When I say nothing, I mean nothing. Nothing. I was just there waiting. Just waiting. Okay, so this is part two of my journey to becoming a permanent resident, and basically what happened in the second lap, right? So after being nominated by Saskatchewan, of course, I applied under the express entry category. So that means now it's just I have to now wait to get invitation from express entry as well, right? So after moving on to this now, boom. So excited, there was another hiccup. So it apparently my express entry was expired because express entry profile is a yearly thing. So by that time my profile was expired. So if I don't have a profile, I can't get invitation. I can't get an invitation. So it was indeed an hiccup, right? So I was like, okay, quick, boom, recreated a new express entry profile. When I did that, there was another hiccup because when I got the invitation, when I got the nomination, I got a certification, but it was linked to the old express entry profile. So I can't apply that nomination to the new express entry profile. So I had to now reach out to Saskatchewan and explain to them that my profile was expired, and so I need a new nomination certificate linked to this new one. So the first one was null and void, and then I had to get a new one now with this new express entry profile. That took a lot of time. So I created the new express entry the 4th of January. That was up on everything. I reached out to Saskatchewan. They took a little time to get back to me. Not long, but like a little time to get back to me with a new certificate. Then when I got that, when I log in, I realized that it was still not reflecting in my express entry profile, because normally when I did my research, you would get like something that would tell you that, hey, this province has given you a nomination, do you accept? That was not reflecting just yet. Then I think it started reflecting like the first week of February. Then that's when it kind of pop up and said, hey, you got a nomination by Saskatchewan. Would you like to accept this nomination? So forth, so forth. And I select and I click yes, and then that's when it started to reflect in my express entry score. So now before I had like 4.0, I think I had 4.05, but then because of age it had dropped a little bit. I think I lost like every time your age go up you lose some points. So because I started so long, and then I would have gone like maybe like a 2 birthdays or whatever, it had dropped like to 390 something or something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, when I got 600 points added to that, so I think I had 900 and something points now, which would mean that the next time that they did a provincial nomination draw for express entry, I would have automatically got an invitation to apply, because I was up there. The cutoff score is usually like 700 and something, and I had 900 and a lot. So that was like a given. I was not worried. I was not anything. I was just waiting on them to do the draw and for me to be invited. And then they were basically mostly doing provincial nomination draws and experience class. It was a good time for me in terms of I had nothing to be worried about. It was just getting the nomination added, and I had passed that bridge, right? So then boom, they did a draw as I would have anticipated. I got an invitation to apply for my express entry under the provincial nomination program, or category rather. So at that time, most of what I had submitted for Saskatchewan, I would have used for this application as well, and any additional things I would have already gotten. I did everything up front, medical up front. I had a biometric already in the system. So police record was already done. I did everything up front. I did not wait for them to ask me for anything. I know persons have asked me that, like in my DMs, and I said no. I think probably they've changed. I did everything up front. And so when I got that invitation, I submitted all my documents to them as quickly as I was able to. And yeah. And I submitted in, it was in the night, like February 17th. So it would have reflected like February 18th, but really it was February 17th that I submitted everything. But after midnight, my application was in and I was waiting. So now my application is submitted to express entry. This is February, right? The pandemic has now, it's a full-blown thing, and everything has slowed down. Everything is taking long. It was a disaster, if you ask me. I was waiting, but I was also very positive because I was in a lot of Facebook group and everybody's story was different, and so I chose to be on the positive side of things. And I was saying, if that's happening for somebody else, then I can expect anything to happen. So I was still very optimistic about everything. Then I heard from them like the March. They said my medical was passed, like March 17th. My medical was passed, right? That's March 17, 2021, right? So I'm like, all right, good. Medical is passed. I'm there, still staying optimistic, everything. Nothing. When I say nothing, I mean nothing. Nothing. I was just there waiting. Just waiting. Like dead silence. And I was just every day, I was just in the Facebook groups, I was doing research, I was just checking profile, I was logging into my thing, nothing. And of course, I knew that it was probably time to do what I do best, take that step back. And so I tried to do that, but we're humans, and it's hard when you do that so many times. You're on high, then it's low, you're on high, then it's low. You think like, okay, this is it now, and then boom. And then I said, okay, it was becoming the end of the year, so nothing. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, nothing. So I'm like, okay, it's whatever. I'm like, this is crazy. Then the new year started, nothing. Like, it was the craziest experience, honestly. But then I also knew that there were persons who were waiting from 2018. And why that made me say, like, you can be a little more patient, also made me more depressed, because I'm like, I can't do this for 2-3 years like those people. I don't have the mental capacity to sit down and wait for so long. So we're now in 2022. I'd still not heard anything from them. It was February, it was 1 year. 1 year. Can you believe that? I had now sat down waiting to hear some form of feedback for one whole entire year. It was so exhausted and draining, if I'm being totally honest. So I didn't hear anything from them, so I sent them a web form. I was kind of avoiding that because there are people that send them so often, and it's not really encouraged. It's like you're bugging them. You're not really getting any sort of results. So, you know, I sent them email, a web form saying, hey, it's been a year. I haven't gotten any feedback. I haven't heard anything. I don't know what's happening. I just want to know what's happening. I just need some form of feedback to say where we're at or what's happening with my profile. Nothing. So now it was March. I realized that my son's passport was expired, and I never realized that it was expired. And I was like, oh my God, you know, I was kind of beating myself. I'm like, I'm here asking about my status when my son's profile is expired. And I'm thinking maybe I'm not getting it because, you know, his passport is expired. And then mine was going to be expired in April. So I'm like, okay. So I went now, got those renewed. And then I updated those. I sent them via web form that, hey, our passport expired and we got them renewed. These are the new passport number. Da 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 da. I was like, okay, I'm gonna hear something back now because, you know, that's what they were waiting for. Again, being very, very optimistic because why not? So I'm like, all right, that's what they were waiting on. So I'm definitely going to hear from them. That was March. I think like in April. When? That was March, right? So I never got anything. I didn't hear anything from them. By this time, honestly, I said, you know what? I went to a lot of these phases a lot. I said, you know what? I'm waiting over a year. I'm done waiting. You know, I'm like, I'm just gonna do me. I know I've said that quite a bit, but hey, I'm human. It's hard, you know? So it's March now. I remember like the last part of March, I just said to my husband, I said, it was my husband at the time, my fiance. I said, hey, I think we should get married. And then also because I wanted to add him to the application, and there this lawyer friend had told me, had advised me not to do it because he was saying, oh, they're going to scrutinize my profile, and so it's better to get approved, come, and then to sponsor my husband, right? But then I was in the Facebook group and I had a ton of people who was adding their partner, getting married, adding their partner and getting through. And I'm like, what am I doing? This makes no sense for me to wait so long, over a year, come here and then have to go through that process again to get my husband up. Kind of seemed like, you know, a waste of time to me. So I'm like, you know what? I started to do some real research and realized that the guy that I follow, his Facebook page, he has a YouTube channel, and he was like, this was a question, and he was giving his, you know, his advice. And I'm like, okay. And he was letting you know that it is better to do this, you know, to add them even while you're waiting. And so I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I was adamant that this is what I was gonna do. And then the one day I was just saying to my husband, I said, I think we should start putting off our wedding and we should just get married. And I'm gonna add you to my sorry, what was I saying? I was like, I'm gonna add you to my I'm gonna add you to my application, right? So right there and then I decided to do that, to add him to my application. Also, before I decided that, I sent them another web form with this long letter about how it has impacted my son and I, and how, you know, it's hard as a mother to constantly be promising something to your child. And I wrote this long epistle letter. I never played, right? And so I did that, and then I decided that, yo, scrap that, because I wasn't getting any reply, just automated response to the web forms. And so I decided that, hey, I'm going to get married. So I did that. I was like, you sure? Like, this is just out of the blue. He knows me. He's like, you're always just randomly coming up with and you know, he needs more time. But I'm like, yeah, let's do something small and just do it, because I got engaged December 2019, and this was 2022. This was crazy to me, you know, to just be holding on, pausing my life like that. So he said, okay, once it's something that you want to do, let's do it. So I just got, you know, I said it to my close family, like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Everybody wouldn't have been there because there are persons who are abroad, all of that stuff. But I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, for a change, I wanted to do something for me that felt like I was no longer putting my life on hold. I was no longer pausing my life at all. So I started writing down, planning out everything, you know, getting everything together, because it was short. And then I was like, okay, that was at the end of March. I'm like, I'm gonna get married April 22nd. I just chose a date. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna get married. I'm gonna do something small, intimate, simple, and get out of the way, because I don't want to do this anymore. So I was there doing my planning and everything. So I had logged into my profile for a little while, because that was another thing that I decided I'm not going to do to myself, this constant logging in. So I don't remember what happened, but at that time, it was like April, like in the teen section or whatever. So I had logged into my profile, and then I realized that, I think this was like April 13th, I logged into my profile. And then when I logged in, I realized that my medical was extended on the 8th. I'm like, this was the first I'm seeing any type of movement in my profile since the previous year, March, when my medical was passed. So it said, oh, your medical was extended. And I know that a lot of persons got like a request to do the medical again, while some got an extended medical. I was hoping to get an extended medical, because honestly, I didn't want to go back and get police record and medical or whatnot. So I'm like, okay. And I was telling mom, like, look, something is up. I'm like, anyways, I'm not even paying them any mind, because I'm thinking, when I got the notification that my medical was approved, I was thinking that, okay, things are gonna look up. And it was dead silent, and now it's over a year. So of course, when I saw that, I'm like, I'm not even going to get myself worked up. Let's get back to planning my wedding and just doing me. That's the kind of frame of mind that I was in. And so I just went back to do my thing. I was saying, it's like, yo, I saw that they did that, but that's that, right? So of course, I started to get everything together for my wedding, planning, doing me, living my life and everything. So because I planned to add my husband to my application at that time, so I actually started to get everything together. Because I had now made that decision to add my husband to my application, while I was planning for my wedding, I was also planning for his application, right? Because I was doing my research, I was getting everything together. So I'm like, okay. So I was sorting wedding things out, and I was also gathering all his documents, because I'm like, I'm going to do everything up front. So I was calling Oxford Medical, the medical center, to book his medical. I was you know, we went down to like get the police record done, and they were saying, oh, people, they're not giving dates till far out. And I'm like, nah, I don't have that time. I don't know, something in me felt like I needed to, like, I was trying to beat a time. I didn't know why, but I just felt like I need to be rushing to do all of these things, but I don't know why. That's just how I felt, and I was just working with the feeling. So even when I went to get the police record, they said, oh, they were giving out a lot of dates for like a whole month. So they're saying that the date that they're giving out is not until May 31st. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, and I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to, because the policeman that was out there, I'm like, nah, there can be something. And then over here, like the farm worker, like a farm worker came, and somebody said, no, like, what is farm work you're doing? You don't have to do that. You can talk to him. They're not letting like you for international thing wait. So I'm like, okay, if the farm worker ain't waiting, I ain't waiting either. So I'm said to some husband say, what do you think? And him say, just go bop your eye 2 times. Just go bop your eyelash 2 times and ask him and see. Jokingly, of course. So I'm like, okay. So I said, excuse me, can I have a minute? You know, nice up the thing. And then the policeman say, all right, you just wait a little bit, right? And I said, okay. So he said, them say, I'm saving the best for last. So I'm like, okay. I still, you know, just one little corner and I'm waiting. And then I went up to him and I said to him, him said, when he told me that, he thought I was gonna give him attitude, right? But he liked how I just waited. So I said, oh no, I would not do that. You know what I mean? So anyways, I said to him, I said to him, say, I was just wondering, you know, we're doing a police record for immigration purposes and we'd really love to do it today because they need it. No, it's an urgent matter. So I kind of want to get it out of the way. I said, so he said, yeah, he asked if he had, he said, is it for you? I said, no, it's not for me, it's for my fiance. So he said, okay. So he said, he have the picture and everything. I said, we have everything on us today because funny enough, we walked with everything. So I said, all right, I have everything, and if you guys are willing to wait, then I will see what I can do. So I said, we are willing to wait. Yeah. So we waited, and we are already paid for express entry, so we wouldn't have to wait for no 20 days. 1 week and we'd be good to go. So we did that. He allowed him to go in, get it sorted out the same day. So I had police record done. The medical was booked. The medical was booked for like the 3rd of April. So I was just doing everything together, wedding, application, everything I was doing together. Anyways, so we did everything. We got married on April 22nd. And when I got married on April 22nd, we went on our honeymoon. It was just like a short honeymoon for the weekend. So when I came back the Monday, I sent IRCC an update. And I said to them, because I hadn't gotten the official marriage certificate, but I got like the receipt. So I said to them, hey, just wanted to know that my marital status has changed, and I will be adding my spouse to my application. And I made I said, attach is a receipt of this, blah blah blah. So I sent that to them. Again, like most of my web form, no response, no nothing. I'm like, okay, fine, do you. Right? So at this time, I just wanted to know that I updated them, and I was still just preparing and gathering all the documentations that I needed, planning to submit the application, right? So I'm a fact, I think I said to them, yeah. So I was just gathering everything, waiting to submit it and all of that, right? So then this happened. While I'm there preparing to submit the documents, because I remember I said to them, I'm married now, I'm planning to add my spouse to the application, I've already started to gather the documentation, blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay. Then I was there March 3rd, and I got an email. I got an email, and from I'm like, okay. When I opened the email, it was my passport request, and I'm like, wait, what? Because I don't know, I was not expecting that, you know, because I had not been hearing anything from them. I was just doing my thing. I'd gotten my passport request, but you know, they tell you that before you submit your passport, you have a legal obligation to let them know if anything has changed, like your marital status, in addition to your family, all of those stuff. So I'm like, oh, people crazy. Because I'm like, really? Like, look how long I've been waiting. I know, right? But anyway, I'm like, all right, no problem. So I quickly replied to them and say, hey, I have to cancel, because you're basically canceling you're canceling your permanent residence. If your marital status change or you have a baby or anything like that, and they sent you a passport request, you're basically canceling that permanent resident confirmation of permanent residency, and they will have to issue you a new one, right? So I said to them, hey, I sent a web form to let you guys know that my marital status had changed. I got married on April 22nd, and I will be, so I'm telling them the same thing. I'll be adding my spouse to the application. I've already gathered all of his documents, so I'll be able to submit everything promptly. And so I was like, I'm just letting y'all know, right? So I reached out to them and I told them that. And then like in the groups, they said that, yo, they're gonna send you they will send you something then to say, okay, like a kit to add your spouse stuff. But I'm like, yo, y'all waiting too long. So I ended up gathering everything, and I replied and sent them everything. I sent them all of the documents for my husband, right? After I sent them all of the documents, they still sent me like a kit, asking basically for the same document, but they like included like a questionnaire. Like they wanted to ask some questions to, like they asked me some questions, so he has to answer on his own. I have to answer. I think they want to see if the relationship is really authentic or whatnot. So it was kind of like that. Because what I did, even though I was not sponsoring my husband, I treated it that way. So when I was doing my research, I looked up what you have to present to prove your relationship when you're sponsoring your partner. And what I pretty much did, I did the same thing. I gave them more than what they asked for. I gave them, so when they sent me the list, I had everything on point. I had conversations from 2014, because they asked how you met. So because I knew my husband from 2014. We were friends long before we were lovers, you know what I mean? So I had conversations from 2014, you know, telling them how we met. I have conversation from when we started being intimate. So I had conversations on conversations from how many years, you know, I mean, right? So I gave them conversation on how we met. I gave them conversation proving a relationship from all back in 2017, coming all the way back. Like, I never played. Everything was to the T. I made photo collage of everything. I left nothing unturned. And then I also wrote a letter of explanation, a detailed letter of how we met, how everything started, how we got to this point, why I want him to come with me to Canada, why is it important to me to add him. No, I wrote from my heart. I wrote that somebody with emotion could make the connection, and I did everything, right? So I did all of that, right? And I submitted it to them. When they sent me that, there was something in there where I didn't know the meaning of it, but basically they were indeed scrutinizing my relationship, or the fact that I'm adding my spouse. That's why they asked for so many things. But at the time I never knew, and I'm glad I didn't know, because I probably would have gotten all anxious and whatever. I just gave them all the detail that I needed to give to them, and I submitted that everything to them in May, right? So I submitted everything in May, and they, accepted. So his medical, everything was up front for him too. Medical, police record, everything, every single thing. I submitted 21 pieces of documentation. Trust me. 21 pieces of documentation I submitted via email. And they then, when they send me that, they gave me a slot. They open up a slot in my express entry profile, so I had to resubmit those. So I just combined into PDF presentations, combined stuff together, and I made sure I labeled everything in bold capital letter. So on the, I didn't leave anything unturned, let's put it that way, right? So I submitted all of that, and then it was on to waiting again. I submitted that in March, and it was now in March, and then they asked me for additional documents for something that was missing, and I submitted that, and then it was dead silent. Then they asked me for, I made an error on one of the forms, and they were scrutinizing it again, saying, so like on my form, I would have ticked that, yeah, we were asked, have you ever been rejected for a visa, you or your spouse? So I would have ticked that, yes, I was rejected, and I was rejected in this year, and my spouse was rejected in this year. But I forgot to tick that on his form, because I had a form, he had a form, so they were saying like, they're giving me an opportunity to clarify why I was hiding the information that he was rejected. So I was like, y'all crazy. So I'm like, no. So I made sure to write them a letter of explanation saying I was not hiding. It was basically human error. I then attached the document that I had submitted, and saying if I was hiding, I wouldn't have put it in mine. And I highlighted that, and I did my thing. It was dead silent again, and I wasn't hearing anything. It was now 2 weeks, and I'm like, y'all crazy. It was still in June, so that was May, June. It wasn't long, but I never wanted to wait any longer, if you get what I'm saying. So I wrote them a long letter again. I'm like, hey, I never expected to be waiting again, and a long ass epistle saying like, why am I waiting again? Why am I putting myself, my son, and my family through this wait period again when I gave you guys everything up front to make the process go smoothly, and all of that. And then same thing, not any response. And I'm like, okay. And then boom, just like that, June, I think it was like June 27th or something like that, or I got my passport request for my whole entire family, and I went. Oh my god, I got my passport request for my whole entire family in June. It never took 2 months. It just 1 month and a few days. It was very exciting for me to just experience that after such a long journey. And I quickly, the same day that I got it, you guys would have seen those videos on my profile, on my channel. I basically submitted the passport, and it was on to planning out everything. So that is basically how I became a permanent resident for Canada, and we are all here as a family living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And that's really how the journey went. There were hiccups, there were ups and downs, but it's all worth it. And I'm glad that I'm here so I can share this journey with you guys. And I'm now open to answer any questions that you may want to know related to that. But as I had mentioned in a previous chit chat, the channel won't be completely surrounded by immigration, but I will try to give whatever information I can, and I will definitely make a playlist with immigration related videos for you guys' benefit. You can also let me know any type of videos that you would want me to do related to that, and if it's related to the route that I took, I will try my best to answer those, telling you based on my experience. I'm not able to like research and give information right now because of time, but I will definitely help however ways that I can to answer your questions. In the future, I hope to do lives too where I can answer those questions even more quickly. But that's my journey. Thank you guys for, sitting and hearing my story. Though I had to separate them in two parts, nevertheless, I know somebody out there might benefit from it. So thank you guys. Remember to like the video, leave a comment, let me know, what are your thoughts, what you thought about my journey, what were the highlights for you. Are you on the same journey? Will you be taking the same journey? Are you in Canada? Where in the world are you? And also remember to subscribe to the channel and look out for more of these immigration series as I explain things that I did along my journey and stuff like that. Remember to also leave me ideas of videos relating to immigration or anything else that you want me to do. And thank you always for the support, for the love. Continue to stay positive, stay blessed. Until next time, bye bye.
Today's positive vibe quote: everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, then it's not the end.